I guess we could go in here now. So the first team I want to introduce to you is Medigun. Medigun, come on up here and explain your project.
Howdy!
Howdy.
We are currently presenting Medigween. My name is Leanne Kramer. I'm a current freshman general engineering, hoping to be in mechanical engineer.
Howdy. I'm Charan Thomas. I'm a graduate student in Industrial and Systems Engineering.
Howdy. I'm Mahesh Kalderin. I am a graduate student in computer engineering.
Howdy, I am Zach Reese. I'm a junior biomedical engineering major.
Every parent faces their child getting sick. It's unavoidable, yet often stressful for both the parent and the young child. Young children are especially prone to resisting devices such as thermometers, and even though a fever is the first sign to look for in a sick child, heart rate, breathing rate, and redness in the ears and throat are also necessary to monitor a child's health and safety. Through history, ways of monitoring this has been designed and sold worldwide, yet are rarely child-friendly, causing young children to have a fear of doctors and the devices used to care for them. For that reason, we designed Medigween, a stuffed toy used to monitor a child's health. Aimed at 3 to 7-year-olds, this product is designed with the child and their love of toys in mind. Medigween functions by relying on the child's natural desire to hug their stuffed companion. Simply by hugging the toy, the heart rate and breathing rate are taken and sent to an app. The flippers of the toy contain a thermometer, so when a child hugs Medigween, an auxiliary temperature reading will also be taken. Medigween's focus is on the health and comfort of children. There is even a pouch located in the penguin's stomach to insert a hot or cold pack for providing a soothing comfort during a child's stressful time. A digital otoscope located in the beak to give a playful way to check for redness in the ears and throat. Medigween is a comforting solution to a sick child. I started doing Medigween about 3 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. One thing I noticed was that many children at a young age, they have a certain fear of doctors. They feel there's a negative connotation towards the medical field, especially towards young children. But yet whenever you compare a toy, people usually have a desire to hug it, to embrace it, to show love to a stuffed animal. So I thought, why can't we combine the two things? And why can we not make the medical industry more child-friendly? There's a very strong need for medical devices made for children, as most medical devices are designed for adults much before they're ever designed for children. So children usually do not get the same benefits as adults. And that's understandable, seeing as how children are less likely to get sick compared to adults, which have more variety of illnesses, but that does not mean you should reject the children and their medical needs. There are many common illnesses found in children, and these are the 3 most common illnesses which Medigween can examine. Respiratory infections, ear infections, very common flu, cold. They're all very common in children and are the first things parents try to find whenever they're maintaining their child whenever they're sick. Of course, Medigween is not meant to replace an actual physician due to FDA requirements that my partner here will explain later on. We did not create anything that is not already existing on the market. We only combined the things and made it more child-friendly. I will now pass the design requirements to my friend, Tarin.
Thank you, Leana. So what we are trying using Medigween is to revolutionize the field of biomedical instruments specifically for children. So our first and foremost design requirement is that the Medigween should be child-friendly. So now put yourself in this scenario. You have a toddler. Would you rather ask your toddler that, can I examine your ear using the otoscope, or would you rather ask him or her, hey Emma, can the Medigween check your ear? Of course, the toddler will be more comfortable with the Medigween examining his or her ear. The second design requirement is store or collect the patient health information. We are synchronizing the Medigween hardware with a mobile-based app where we can store the vital statistics of your child and you can maintain the history. So whenever you visit the doctor's office next time, you could pull out the history of your child's health from the mobile app. And that's about the third point, relay the information to parents. And the Mediguin is highly customizable. As Liana was explaining, Mediguin can hold a pouch in the tummy where we can put warm or cold pouches so that the child will be comfortable, so the child can feel comfortable just by hugging the Mediguin. And finally, Mediguin is affordable because we are not inventing any new technology here. We are just picking up the right technology that's available currently in the market and integrating it into the Mediguin. So while designing the Mediguin, we considered various design. The first one was a removable otoscope. The history was that when we first conceived the Mediguin, we planned that it would be used by the doctors. So it would be better to have a removable otoscope because the patients are different for the doctor. But then right now we plan the Mediguin to be used at home. So we no longer need the removable otoscope. Again, for detecting the heart rate, we have various instruments available in the market. So if you know how the Fitbit measures your heart rate, it's through flashing light. That's how the Fitbit works. But in Mediguin, we decided to go with a heart rate sensor. And instead of using a pouch to keep the child warm or cold, we thought of using an electric heating and cooling. But the FDA, it would be difficult to obtain FDA approval for devices like that when we involve electrical components into a biomedical device. So now my friend Mahesh will be explaining the final design.
Thank you, Charan. So considering our first requirement of making it child-friendly, we have designed it as a plush stuffed animal. And for the second requirement, we have embedded medical device sensors to measure patient health information and to relay the information to the parents. We have a health data which connects to the device via Bluetooth, and we also have a uniquely designed toy for different children, and so it meets the requirement of being customizable. And finally, since we are integrating a lot of sensors into a single product, we can make this more affordable and it can minimize the production cost. So this is how we plan for the mobile app to be. Like we have an interface in which we can view the history of all the statistics, and we can also measure stats using the Android app, and it would look something like this. And for the technical overview, we have a temperature sensor, the Max 3205, which would be used to measure the body temperature, and we have a heart sensor which goes into which is in front of the Mediguin, which uses light IR pulses to measure the heart rate. And we have a respiratory sensor, which is like a belt which is inside the Mediguin. So when a child holds it closer to the chest, the breathing, expanding and contracting of the chest can be used to measure the the breathing rate. And finally, we have a camera which works as a digital otoscope. We also implemented a prototype, like our minimal viable product, using a Raspberry Pi, and tested it using a camera and temperature sensor. And for the medical device regulation, I'll hand it over to Zach.
Howdy! So my role for our group is to talk about taking a product from conception to actual production. And the quickest way to get an FDA patent is to show substantial equivalence to a predicate device. Now what that means is using existing technology to create a new product. You do not want to reinvent the wheel when designing a medical product, because you can have the cost upwards of $30 million when designing a brand new product. But you can reduce it to $62,000, depending on the patent pathway that you take. Now the pathway is dependent on the size of the company, the risk associated with the product, and the amount of submissions you have for the patent. So as a startup company applying for the first time for their low-risk product, it would be $62,000 versus $30 million. So while we are different, heart sensors, respiratory sensors, and thermometers are already out in the market, but we will be the first to put them together to create a brand new product that is specifically designed for children. So So the future directions will be creating a more accurate way of collecting the various forms of health information and being able to read facial expressions and other complex issues that children may have.
In conclusion, MediGueen is going to be the future for child pediatric technology to create child-friendly devices aimed towards children. That is, and keep calm and hug a penguin. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Judges, do you have any questions?
Have you done any research or testing to determine how accurate MediGueen is compared to going to the doctor, such as the temperature sensors or the heart rate, or, I mean, is it going to be within 95%, 90%? I mean, what's your best guess, or have you already done the research?
Yeah, so the sensors we're using have a tolerance of like 0.1 degrees Celsius, and yeah, that's we use the sensors on both the flippers of the penguin, so we probably get a good accuracy of the measurements.
Okay.
And of course, the technology is going to be replicated what already exists. We're only going to be adjusting it to fit the penguin. It should be equally as accurate as what you can find in a doctor's office or what you can buy at a local pharmacy store. So such as a thermometer and so on and so forth.
And let's focus on the objective. The objective is, the fact is that children are a bit averse to things like clinical thermometer. So what we're trying to make is to make the child comfortable so that the parent can comfortably take the readings. But it's in no way removing the physician or a doctor's office from the equation.
Correct. The child, if they are sick, they would require to go to a doctor's or a physician office. But this is only meant for at-home use for a parent who's trying to check up on their child, monitor their child, and make sure how their health is doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So for the respiration rate, you said hugging?
Yeah, so it would actually be seeing the change of pressure. So whenever you hug something, no matter how tight you hold it, you will be breathing in and out. So that change in, I guess, the breathing rate from your body expanding and compressing would be measured by the internal systems of the penguin. So it would see what the breathing rate is.
Any idea on how long you'd have to, like what duration, time duration?
You can get pulse and breathing within 15 seconds.
15 seconds, okay. And there is a medical device out there that, so hugging.
Yes, there is a respiratory and a heart monitor that you wear as a belt. So it's basically just flipping that around.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, judges. MediGueen.
Thank
Everybody? Brett?
There's the
This is the team, ECR. They're going to introduce themselves to you.
whatever order we got.
Go for it.
Do you hate getting food on your hands? Are you tired of shoving your hand halfway into a jar only for it to return with more dip on it than your helpless chip? Introducing Easy Jar. This revolutionary product will change the way you dip your snacks. Every time your dip lowers past the opening of the jar, simply push the jar down to always have easy access to the top of the dip. When you're done, simply compress the jar for easy, compact storage. Our prototype features two cylindrical modules in which one nests inside the other. The top module is slightly larger in diameter than the bottom module so that it can slide down over the bottom one. In order to seal the gap in between the two modules, we implemented an aluminum bushing that is fixed to the bottom of the module. There is also an aluminum machined plug that is pressed flush into the bottom module. An aluminum cap was also machined to act as a lid for the entire jar.
My name is Garrett Kettler, and I'm an intended mechanical engineering major here at Texas A&M, class of 2021.
My name is Boston Byerly. I'm a intended finance major, class of 2021.
My name is Dylan Sullivan. I'm an intended chemical engineering major, class of 2021.
My name is Maxwell Huffman, intended electrical engineering major, class of 2021.
I'm Akshay Veldanda, pursuing my master's in mechanical engineering. By now I hope you have got a little idea of what our product is about. However, over the past 2 days we have conducted a market survey and gladly we received responses from mixed age groups. So the survey was about dipping off the food or a snack from a jar, and the results revealed that about 72% would prefer to dip their snacks from top of the jar, and about 68% would like to, they are bothered about their fingers getting messy, and about 74% are bothered about the hygiene or the contamination of the food. Interestingly, these results are in line with their product requirements and need statement.
With these results in mind, we figured that we needed to make a product that could overcome these challenges, because there's the universal problems of messy hands and germy jars. So the jar was invented 150 years ago by John Mason, or at least patented him. They probably used him a little bit before. But the idea of it was to keep things safe, away from rodents, away from pests. That way your food was okay. We want to expand upon that idea by making a jar that is even more safe from germs, because your hands aren't going to be constantly rubbing around the inside or accidentally bumping into it, or whenever you're done closing it up and letting those germs fester on the shelf. And just overall, we had 5 requirements that we wanted to do to make a better jar. It had to be sanitary. So, as I said before, if your hands are constantly rubbing against the edge when you're trying to go down, or if you accidentally leave something inside the jar, it's just not safe. It gives time for things to grow inside of the different biomes that you may have, whether your jar is in a cold or warm environment. Secondly, we want it to be adjustable, because if you think of a mason jar, imagine any size you want. There's thousands, there's hundreds of different kinds of ways to do it. So the way we wanted to implement a solution was to avoid changing that. We didn't want to have, oh, they have a single product with a cool use. No, we want this use to be able to be applied to any shape or size of jar. Has to be durable. If you or your friends have ever gone camping or gone to a party, you've taken a jar of peanut butter, a jar of salsa, you can just toss it in your bag. You don't have to worry about it getting all over your clothes. You can keep everything nice and secure. So if we want to design a better jar, it had to follow the same requirements. It had to also be simple to use, because if you give a kid a jar, they're going to find a way to get to what's on the inside. They want it, and it's not that complicated. A lot of different projects might accidentally over-engineer what they're doing and kind of fall short of what the original problem was. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we did was simple for everyone to use. And lastly, we want it to be economic, because if we're trying to create a product that can be used in a new market, we wanted our solution to a problem to be something that can easily be injected into a current manufacturing system. Our problem the thing we're using to solve it is a very simple addition to what the jar already is, so that's why we wanted to keep it nice and simple.
We've all been there, digging in the jar for the last half of the dip. It's difficult, it's degrading, it's disgusting. That motivated us to design a simple and low-cost jar that's adjustable so you can easily reach your dip. Not only that, our product also ensures that your half-empty containers save space on storage. So, stop digging and start dipping with Easy Jar.
Our team went through 4 main designs before reaching our final design. The first design was the latch-style design, in which 2 halves of the jar would meet in the middle and latch down the way a toolbox latches. The problem with this design is that it would need too much force to open and close and could cause spillage. Our second main design was a screw-style design. In this design, the bottom would twist and it would raise the dip up to the top of the jar. The problem with this design is that it would incorporate a screw through the center of your dip, which is unsanitary and inconvenient. Our third design was an accordion-style design, in which the whole jar compresses down in the way a conventional straw does. The problem with this design is that the jar contents would tend to get stuck on the inside of the crevices. The fourth design was a piston-style design, in which a shaft would be used to raise the remaining contents up to the top of the jar. The problem with this is that it would need a hole in the bottom of the jar, which could lead to leaking. Our final design is our telescopic design. It incorporates two modules, one that nests inside the other. Now, when using the jar and the contents get low, you just easily push down the top module and you have easier access to the bottom. We also incorporated two rubber O-rings, one on the small module and one on the larger. These O-rings not only keep your contents inside the jar, but they lock in the top jar, keep it from accidentally releasing off the top. The extended version of our 15-ounce design stands 1 inch taller and half an inch wider than the general 15-ounce jar. However, in its compressed form, it saves 3 cubic inches of exterior volume. We figured that if producing only 100 jars, you can make our easy jar for only 3.2 cents more than an average jar. This value can be decreased by mass production and changing in dimensions in the overlap space in the gasket region.
Future goals with Easy Jar include patenting and leasing the design to companies ranging in size from small companies such as Sandridge all the way to larger companies such as Pringle and companies owned by PepsiCo such as Doritos, Tostitos, and Frito-Lays. We believe that Frito-Lays will allow us to bridge the gap from smaller company to larger company with the help of Senior Vice President and Texas A&M graduate class of 1990, Greg Roden. Now join us in our journey to slow down germ growth 1 jar at a time. Thanks and giggle.
So the aluminum plug was just for this prototype design, so that's not a part of the final design?
Yes, sir.
It'd be a jar.
Our final design would be made out of glass. It would be molded glass, and it would have rubber gaskets. Probably something like nitrile is one of the options and most affordable for the gaskets.
And you're choosing that to avoid latex, I assume? So allergies?
Yes, sir, and there's a list of FDA-approved food-grade rubbers, and that was the most economic that would work well in our temperature range and our acidity resistance and oil and grease resistance.
I guess one thing you're going to want to end up thinking about is stability studies to make sure that it is in fact a sanitary environment, right? That you're not actually getting air leakage or anything into there. But do you think? I mean, so you're saying glass, but do you think a plastic implementation would be any better, or why would you not use plastic or polymer as a first line?
That would be something we would go to the company with as their choice. I mean, it could be implemented either way with a different number of materials. It's just the idea that we would be bringing to the companies.
So our main motto is to lease our idea to companies like PepsiCo. So it depends upon their requirement what they would like to have from us.
Sure. Okay. And it also depends upon the product, such as like peanut butter. It wouldn't need as much of glass in comparison to something such as queso, which could be heated.
Right.
And so
you don't want to melt your jar. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jar.
Thank you.
All right, y'all come on and get set up. Roll motion.
Howdy. Howdy. My name is Diego, and I am a freshman business major.
Oh, wait. Wait. I'll give Sorry.
Oh.
Use that.
Time's already,
Good try.
Wait, the clock's running.
Okay. Howdy.
Howdy.
My name is Diego, and I am a freshman business major.
My name is Jasmine, and I'm a junior comp sci major.
My name is Yaman, and I'm a freshman computer engineering major.
I'm Nathan. I'm a freshman biomedical engineering major.
I'm Ross. I'm a junior electrical engineering major.
I'm Maria. I'm a freshman computer engineering major.
And together we make bread. So, how many of y'all go shopping? Okay, a lot of you. Now, how many of y'all remember the first time you went shopping by yourself and you had no idea what to do? Okay, also a lot of you. I can relate with that because I had that exact same experience about a week ago when I first moved to College Station. I went shopping to get a few things from my dorm, and I found that I had no idea how to be an effective shopper. There was too much stuff, it took too long, I didn't know what to buy. And our group realized that there are a lot of people out there just like us, and that big problem is what inspired our app, Bread. To summarize the product, we're going to play our video.
If you are what you eat, what are you? As we all know, buying groceries is hard and boring. It's a daunting experience because there are too many options, it takes too long, and it's just not fun. To solve these problems, we made Bread. Bread is a shopping assistant app that features an interactive shopping list, scanner to compare options, and a reward system. Before you shop, plan your trip using our shopping list feature. At the store, remember to use our scanner, the bread and butter of our app, to compare prices and products. After you pay, just scan the receipt to earn reward points or breadcrumbs towards coupons for your next visit. So download Bread. It's the best thing since sliced bread.
So as a quick roadmap of our presentation, it's divided up into 4 different groups. We have the problem and requirements that our solution needs to solve. We have our app design, which is our solution, and then we have the business model for implementing the solution in real life, and then a quick slide on future goals, followed by a Q&A session. So starting out, we kind of had a general idea of what we wanted to do, but we did a little bit of research at the beginning, and we found that 68% of people said nutrition value matters in their purchase, as well as 63% of people say they find it hard to grocery shop. So using this research, we created a needs statement that was buying groceries is tedious because it's too complicated, it takes too long, and it's just not fun. So we wanted our product to be easy, efficient, and also a fun way to shop for groceries. That way groceries becomes less of a chore and more of a kind of enjoyable thing to do. So using our needs statement, we came up with 5 engineering requirements that our product needed to have. So it needed to be simple, streamlined, and easy to use, budget-friendly both in the product itself as well as saving people money on buying groceries. It needed to be informative in both nutrition value as well as economic value of products. It needed to be interactive and have some sort of rewards initiative to make people enjoy buying groceries a little bit more.
So we came up with 3 possible solutions. We had a fitness tracker, which is already on the market. It's out there. The thing is, it's just not fun to use. It requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of work, and it's just sometimes expensive and doesn't reward you for doing stuff. We also came up with an external scanning device, which is going to also be tedious to use because you're going to have to carry something around with you, which is just not what you want to do when you're shopping for groceries. And then we came up with the shopping app, which is the simplest solution that also hits the largest demographic.
So Bread is an app that exists to simplify grocery shopping. We use Bread because it's a universal food source, and it's also like a representation of simplicity.
So this is a working prototype of our app. You open it up, and it has a scanner. I'll show you all real quick. You tap on it, and the food is scanned. It'll tell you based on your user profile, like, oh no, I'm allergic to bananas. So we're going to continue, but I have this up there if y'all want it.
So the main page, which is also the barcode scanner, is going to be the bread and butter of our app. When you scan an item, it auto-scans it, and then the information pops up in a small tab, which you can scroll up to get more information, like the nutritional information and other alternatives that you can take. The really good thing about this is that it's tailored to each user, so that it shows you and warns you if there is anything that is part of your preferences or part of your allergies, meaning that you're always out there watching, making sure you're not getting sick, which you can see on the screen.
So when you swipe left on the main screen, you'll see this drop-down menu that shows some different options. So when you click profile, it'll show you your profile where we've had you enter some information. and also have a graph on your trends in shopping about how much you spend and such. If you click allergies, it'll show you allergies that you specified that you have, or you can add more so that it'll warn you always when you scan an item that contains one of those. Also, you can put preferences like no GMO and other things like that aren't necessarily requirements but that you just want to avoid in food. When you click rewards, you'll see your current number of rewards and some coupons that you can use those towards for your next trip. And finally, you have shopping history that shows you how much you spent on your last trips and also some of the like designations that our app gave them.
Alright, so if you like to plan ahead and you don't want to use a separate application for your grocery list, you can just put in what you want to buy and then you check them off as you go, or you can delete it if you don't want it.
And the last step is to scan your receipt after your purchase, and it'll come up with a summary of the items you purchased, their prices, and the designation that we've given them based on our algorithm that uses your preferences and compares it to what you bought. And this is the screen that comes up at the end that shows you how many points you earned for that trip, and also comes up with the different coupons. And we know that this is going to work because there are apps like Pocket Points that use rewards that actually mean nothing, but it still motivates you to do certain tasks.
Alright, for the back end, we're going to use several APIs, in which what they are protocols, tools, etc. that are available to make, our job easier. And we would use APIs for the barcode scanner, receipt scanner, nutritional info, and the data analysis. We would also have algorithms that would tailor the app to the user, and we would work with H-E-B, Walmart, other grocery stores to use their database, and you'll talk about more about that.
So our entire business model revolves around an established relationship with grocery corporations. We work in conjunction with them to develop and personalize the app towards consumers, which we then deliver to them. And by the consumers' use of the app in what they scan, what they pay for, and what they use their reward points towards, i.e. coupons, we are able to gather some valuable information. This information is valued to a couple of groups. We can either sell it to third-party data brokers or sell it back to the grocery corporations so they can improve in the future. We know this relationship is very important, which is why we called a few companies beforehand, H-E-B, Walmart, Sam's Club, and although it was a weekend and we couldn't talk to too many people, those we did talk to said they were very interested should we develop an app like this. It's a mutually beneficial relationship both for the corporation and for the consumer because they learn information about each other. The corporation learns about the shopping trends of the consumer, and the consumer learns about the things they buy every day.
All right. So based on the research that we did beforehand, we already knew that millennials and young adults already struggle with grocery shopping, but this also shows that millennials use coupons, but the graph that we have shows that millennials use coupons more than Generation X, because the light blue bar is going to be the products bought without using coupons, and the dark blue is the products bought using coupons. So our target demographic is mainly going to be the young first-time shoppers.
From a purely competitive standpoint, we're able to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. We were able to identify two main competitors in our app market space. On the left, you have MyFitnessPal, and on the right, you have Weight Watchers. What makes us unique is that we are not a fitness tracking pal as the other apps are. We are a shopping assistant that helps to educate you on what's in your food so you yourself can make the choice if you should buy it or not. What separates us more and makes us unique is that we are completely free for the consumer to use, whereas our competitors can range anywhere from $50 a year all the way up to $240 a year. Also, what separates us is that we give back through our unique reward system and our points, and although MyFitnessPal has something like this, it is a raffle system, whereas ours is guaranteed.
So quickly, our future goals, we're going to try to expand socially so that we can have reviews on alternate products. We're going to have an interactive map, so if you can't find something, it'll show up on the map that other consumers have said this is where we found this. We're going to have some AI assistants, so like you can have Siri to add something to your grocery list instead of having to actually go in the app and type it, so it'll make it a lot easier.
So we just want to say thank you for your time today. This is an awesome event, and thank you to the EIC and all the volunteers who make this happen. We hope that you will come to catch our app fresh out of the oven and join us in this slice of an adventure. We're going to open it up for questions now. Thanks and gig 'em.
I was confused a little bit. Right about the third slide back, you brought up coupons. I didn't see anything at the front that talked about incorporating coupons into the the shopping experience, and then, so what was the tie there, I'm sorry?
It incentivizes the shopper to go out and scan all their items. By using our app, we are able to track things like that, and it encourages them to use it because you get these valuable rewards. We have algorithms available.
So the coupons are part of the rewards?
It's also an opportunity for additional revenue because companies can actually pay to have their coupon put first, and so it's just like similar to like any ad placement that we can actually use that to make some of our revenue. So.
Okay. My problem is impulse shopping, so if we could build, have a grocery list and then single out everything that wasn't on the list that ended up on the receipt, that would help.
Just put that in the future features box.
Thank you.
We can show you the app if you want. We still have a working prototype.
We're good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, roll motion. Sound flex, y'all review the next schema. Put it back over here in front of it.
Yeah, we're gonna move it.
Yes, start the river.
Let's move it. Let's move it up. Just right for the
All right, judges, y'all ready this time? Okay.
We need to give you the high side.
Social premise. They were anxious to talk to you. Okay. Yeah, this is-
Play some elevator music. I'll put it like 70.
Whenever y'all are ready, go ahead.
Alright, where is reactor?
Howdy, my name is Edith Valle.
I'm Kyle Cooper. I'm Kendrick Lim.
I'm Hector Garcia.
I'm Andrea Brunel, and our fourth teammate, unfortunately couldn't join us, but his name is Austin, and he helped us a lot this weekend. And all of us are biomedical engineers. Together, we make roll motion.
Your bed, the most sought-after place to be after a long, tiring day. For many of us, bed rest will rejuvenate our bodies and replenish our energy. However, people can be confined to their beds for weeks and up to years at a time. Pathophysiology of bedridden patients is comprehensive of the negative impacts that extended bed rest has on the quality of life. This issue affects all types of people, including the elderly, the wheelchair dependent, injured athletes, and the everyday person. Complications of prolonged bed rest include pressure ulcers, joint contractures, and muscle atrophy. Treatments include group therapy, assisted manual therapy, use of a passive motion machine, and muscle stimulation. Unfortunately, any one of these treatments can be a financial burden and inconvenience. Roll Motion is here to make physical therapy more available for you and your loved ones.
So we all know that the daily workouts of our muscle is essential for a healthy lifestyle. That's why the Roll Motion therapeutic device will address the need of an affordable, lightweight, and long-lasting system that will help the bed rest people work out their muscle from the comfort of their home. So some of the problems related to prolonged bed rest are muscular atrophy, joint contracture, disused osteoporosis, and bed sores. However, our device is only going to address joint contracture, and I will hand that in to Andrea so she can explain more about it.
So joint contracture, simply explained, is when your muscles stay stable for too long and make your joints remain stuck, so to speak, in a certain position. So this is an issue, as you could imagine, if, for example, you're an athlete that had surgery, has been bedridden for a couple of months, and now, lo and behold, your knee is not bendable, or it's not at the same angle as what it used to be. Now, joint contractures can occur due to several different things. The three main ones being some sort of medical disease, some sort of nerve injury, and the third being immobilization. So with bed rest, we're going to address the immobilization cause.
One of the current treatments to avoid this is physical therapy. Now the problem with this is that physical therapy sessions, usually the cost ranges from $75 to $135 per 15 minutes. But physical therapy is still very important for recovery. This weekend we had the opportunity to talk to someone who has had first-hand experience with this, and we would like to share her story with you.
My story is that about 6 years ago, my husband, who was very, very athletic, said to me, my hip is hurting. And then the next thing we know, he gets a flu. So it turns out he had cancer, had never had any symptoms of it other than when he felt that flu and just felt his hip hurting. And the cancer had metastasized to his entire body. He was in the hospital for 2 months, and it was probably an additional 3, maybe 4 months after that, that he had enough strength where when I leaned over him in bed for the very first time, he was able to lift one arm and just plop it on my back to give me a hug. And that was a major milestone. Everyone thought that he would be completely paralyzed. They didn't understand the matter of, of his will. And his will was, I have to be there for my sons to grow them into men. I need to be there for my wife, who I love dearly. And so I have to fight. I have to fight this illness. So we did physical therapy several times a day, and he went from being able to plop an arm over my back to eventually being able to sit on the side of the bed, to eventually being able to move to a bedside commode that's right next to the bed, then eventually to the bathroom that is in the next room, then eventually down the hall, then eventually going and able to walk a half mile. He really, really worked hard, and I worked with him.
So as you just heard, this is a real problem, and therefore there are current solutions to this. But while they work well, they are extremely expensive and they are extremely bulky. So you can see that they range from $2,000 to over $5,000, which is really crazy. So one of our first design requirements is to make it affordable. We want insurance not get in the way. We want it also to be long-lasting, and one thing that will put us differently, and we see that there's a lack thereof, is the incorporation of various therapeutic movements, including the ankle and the knees for moving joints. We also want to minimize skin contact due to like bed sores, which are a very serious problem and can cause various health issues for bedridden people. And we also want to make it versatile, so you can move it to the bed, or you can have it on the sofa, or you can move it to wherever you need to have your therapy.
In the process of designing our final product, we had several different ideas that came about. Our first one, and seemingly most feasible, was the strings and springs idea. Essentially, a string and a spring would push and pull your knee closer to your body, back and forth, so you would have that movement while you're like rehabilitating. The problem with this was that when we actually decided to plan it out and physically make it, we found that it wasn't feasible, it wasn't compact whatsoever, so we had to scrap this idea. The next thing we went to was the sliding platform. And again, on paper, this idea looked really, really feasible. However, once we set it up, we realized that we needed a track underneath it to move it back and forth. And we thought about this, what really sets us apart from what's already in the market now? And really, it wasn't anything, so we pushed that idea aside. Our third idea was the exoskeleton idea. And this one, again, would push your knees forward and backwards, but it would be attached to the patient's thigh as well as the calf muscle. And as we said earlier, we wanted to minimize skin contact throughout the body. The problem with more skin contact is that you have higher risk of bacterial infection. Our final, our end design was a rolling wheel powered by dual motor systems. This dual motor system essentially allows for the movement of the knee, for one, and also movement of the ankle, which would work with the ankle muscles as well as the calf muscles. And this would be then placed on a mat right here, and this mat has like little grooves that would just catch would allow for more traction for the device. This is our final device, what it would look like. And basically, it would just keep going back and forth for however long the treatment was required. As you can see here, this is the prototype we have today. And it's a very simple prototype, but it just moves back and forth and allows for the patient to move their knees and get used to recovering. This is the second option that we have, where the ankle moves back and forth. And of course, again, this is very prototype, but in theory, this will be the same thing. And now Andrea will talk about our future plans.
Right, so as you guys saw, the prototype is just a representation of what the wheel would do. Like we said, the wheel would use those two motors to provide those two different movements. But we figured, we were able to get these two movements into one device. Well, why don't we take it a step further, since this is called passive motion, which helps your joints stretch out but doesn't necessarily target your muscles, which is another big issue that we addressed earlier with bedridden patients. So our next direction would be to incorporate electrodes. So the way this works, electrotherapy, you stick an electrode near a muscle, send a small electric shock. It is not anything that will harm you. It's small enough that it will activate your muscle to contract and then relax. Just as your muscle would if you stood up, if you walked around, as any normal movement would. Now this prototype would work really well with that because there's not a lot of contact with the muscles in the legs. So it would be very easy to attach electrodes, and what we would do is we would synchronize the codes between the electric shock and the movement of the wheel to maximize the muscle and the joint just working, the way they work together and the way that they would help a person heal. So thank you for your time, and now we'll open it up to any questions you have.
One of the first slides had three different reasons why I think the joints was one, the muscles was one, and then there was a third one. What was the
nerve damage, I believe.
Nerve damage.
Yes.
So what is currently used for that then, as far as nerve damage on something like this? Would there have to be a separate device versus this one?
I believe yes. Our main research was for immobile patients, as we said earlier. If you just had a surgery, or if old age and you just were really bedridden, this would help you recover. In terms of nerve damage, I believe that you would probably need another device that would somehow invade the body somewhere, or more electroshock therapy. This one mainly would target immobility, just on the outer level.
I know there's some current research including electrodes, so like EEGs, so strapping some to your brain and trying to pick up brain waves and incorporating those to your muscles. But that's very, very exploratory research, I would say, at this point.
How's everybody doing this afternoon? Everybody ready for the break? Probably.
All right, guys, go ahead. Go ahead.
Howdy. Howdy. My name is Johnny, and I'm the first year in master's degree in mechanical engineering.
My name is Alejandra Hernandez, and I'm an industrial engineer senior.
My name is Jalen James, and I'm a first-year PhD student in material science.
Hi, my name is Brian Calleros. I am a senior in mechanical engineering.
Hello, my name is Luis Ramirez, and I'm a senior electronic systems engineering major.
My name is Kevin O'Gean. I'm a junior manufacturing and mechanical engineer.
Does this look familiar? Is limited living space keeping you from your musical dreams? Would you like to keep your guitar safe and easily accessible at all times during your travels? The common problem in each of these situations is a bulky instrument taking up precious space. And let's face it, the world is becoming a more densely populated place to live, and every spare foot is becoming a more valuable commodity. Not only that, the guitar is the second most played instrument in the world, so the need for a compact design is becoming more and more important. This is where the Soundflex guitar comes into play. The guitar features a modular design that is meant to save you as much space as possible and allow for guitar style customization ranging from classical to rock. So join us at Flex Sound and make your sound move.
To let you know, my real name is Chen Yan. I came from Taiwan. The small islandlet takes 14 hours flights from here. And there where it is. And the picture on the right side is where my idea came from. The small and humid room for 2 college students, where I spent my 4 years college life. And here comes the things. My roommates would play guitars in our room, and that makes me like to play with him. Unfortunately, there's no enough space for another instrument. If I did want to bring mine, I have to carry it through several packed metros for about 2 hours. So I thought, can I design a new guitar that can remove the resonance chamber and output the sounds by my phone to save the space? Aren't there thousands more people facing the same problem in my city? If the answer is yes, aren't there millions more people in the global market?
So after experimenting with Johnny, we realized that on average in the US, there are 80 people per square mile. In this same square mile, but in Taiwan, there is 1,800 people. So we wanted to focus on designing a product that would address the needs of people in countries like this, or any other people living in in conditions where there's limited space. The requirements for a product like this were simple. It had to be portable, had a compact design that could be taken from one place to another without worrying about bulkiness. Then it had to be durable. It had to endure the conditions of traveling. It also had to give a realistic experience because, as many of you know, instruments are not only about hearing but also about feeling. We also tried to keep our cost low, so we could aim and appear appealing to customers with a limited budget. And finally, we wanted the storage and operation of the product to be easy, so people with any type of skills could use it.
Thank you, Alejandra. So to meet the requirements that she just mentioned, we came up with a lot of designs that we bounced around. And the first one that we came up with was a design that would compress and then fold in. But we found problems with this, finding a geometry that would contain the entire guitar in one piece and still be able to compress and fold and still create a compact place for you to put your guitar. So we moved on to another design where we would take the stem of the guitar and the user would place their phone inside of that stem, and then they will take modules and place it on the left and right side of the guitar, creating the perfect guitar experience for that player. And now, I want to show you exactly how this works. Brian?
Hi guys. So I'm going to demonstrate our functioning prototype that we have. I'm going to sit and do it. The way this guitar works is we have 4 modular pieces that come together and fold in order to save space. The way the sound is produced is through an electronic system that tracks finger movements on the frets, and ideally, if we had them, strings. These inputs would then be transferred to a phone that would create our sounds, eliminating the need for a resonance chamber. But this, due to equipment limitations, time limitations, we have only demonstrated our proof of concept for the fretboard technology. This is something that we have to expand on in future projects. One thing that we did get really well and I'm very proud of in our design is the feel of the guitar. This maintains the integrity of the instrument, and the ergonomics of it really accommodate for anybody in their progression as a musician. Typically, the way people start in the guitar classes is playing classically, which I'm demonstrating right now, the classical position. There's 4 points of contact, and it's really ergonomic to feel. Traditionally, as people progress in their guitar playing, you get more relaxed, you get more comfortable sitting around a campfire. You change the way you sit, and this is a really ergonomic feel. It doesn't have the wide, cumbersome motion, so you can, once you get really good, this is not a heavy guitar, to play on your feet in front of people on the stage. And now I'm going to demonstrate our little proof of concept. It's kind of low because we just have a little speaker, so just here's. So this demonstrates our fretboard technology. And now, Luis will help you understand what's going on behind it.
So creating this prototype and creating the electronic interface was a really fun and exciting experience for everyone involved here. We used the technological background of every person here to be able to demonstrate and show you this awesome little proof of concept that we have. We all decided at the beginning that we would have force and position sensors on the fretboard to be able to decide which note to play. But due to equipment limitations, we were only able to get vibration sensors and also force sensors. We learned very quickly though that on the fretboard, we only need to know the position on there. So we ended up using force sensors to just tell which notes for now due to the limitations we had. And from then on, we moved on to programming the module. And from programming the module, we had to do a lot of calibration and tweaking to know which note we needed to play on the fretboard. As you can see here, the fretboard has these modules, and ideally we would have strips of linear potentiometers to know which position you want to be in. And now Alejandra will show you about the body.
So in summary, since the input was not going to come from a string, we eliminated the strings and we created a model of the strings and the frets. Unluckily, we couldn't get the silicone model to dry, but this is what it would look like. On here.
It would typically go over here, and you get real good tactile feedback while you're jamming.
Okay. After today, we have further prospects, and we'll try to make it a more customizable series. First, I believe we can reduce both size and weight to more than 30%, since we have to shell it and collapse it into a more compact cube. After that, we can upgrade it by adding a more accurate sensors and the vibration feedbacks in the snack. And that will help us target different classes of customers, from the beginners to old hands that travels a lot.
So as stated earlier, unfortunately, we were not able to get the phone interface with the strings available for you today. But moving forward, that is definitely something that would be an integral part of this project. Moving forward, we will also reduce our initial average cost of $100 way down by using more efficient manufacturing processes. We would also increase the durability of the product by changing from a wood to a polymer.
Before long, you may see pictures that a music band gathering together and taking out their unique and customized self-flex guitar. Thank you.
What's the other piece?
Okay, so
Sorry.
for time's sakes, I didn't mention it, but this is typically, let me put it back together right quick. This is a shoulder, right, typically, and then you have another shoulder. So maybe as an expansion pack for our product, you can have interchangeable shoulders that say this is really bulky. Your fretboard typically goes down about here.
Cutaway or something.
A cutaway, exactly. So this is kind of, you know, the classical look. It doesn't look fun. Maybe swap it out. Get me a cool horn output so I can really get down here. And if I really want to do a nice high-pitched solo, it can change the look instantly in the middle of the jam session. You don't have to get a completely new instrument. And that is just some of the customizable features that we really want to incorporate in our future design.
And you were saying polymer body, hollow or hollow? Yeah.
I don't know. How much does a typical guitar cost?
So I had a model guitar around during the weekend. That one is bare bones. It's basic as it gets. $80. Those don't last you very long. I've had mine since I was like an 8th grader, but it's not up to like concert quality. Electrics, they can run anywhere from $150 up to thousands of dollars. Typically, we would want to get this around a $200 price range. We think that's really reasonable because it's a all-in-one system where you don't have to retie the strings every time you unfold it. You get that tactile feedback. You have the strumming going on. So we're trying to maintain the integrity of the instrument and change the parts. And since the sound comes from a phone, you can change what your guitar sounds like all at the palm of your hands. So for $200, I think basically you're buying 3 different types of guitars. I think that's a pretty reasonable asking price.
And so you would create your own application for the phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Which is not that hard since Luis here adapted a device on the back that will communicate with the phone through Bluetooth. So the delay between the sound and whatever you're playing won't be long. It'll be instantaneous. In addition to whatever Brian was saying, since it won't have strings also, you won't need maintenance. So you won't need to tune it, you won't need to buy any more strings. So it's just one definite pack. Thank you.
So folks, we're going to take a 5-6 minute break. Next team up would be Vitor. Ready for the team. Rigid structural building. You look nervous.
Do we? Yeah. It's good to be nervous.
You got this covered.
Brian's with this.
Hakuna Matata, guys. I don't know what that means.
Is it light?
Bytor.
Ah, all right. Hakuna
All right, everybody,
Matata.
come on back in. We're going to start with Bytor here. Give about 20 seconds, and y'all have at it. You ready, judges? Ready.
Howdy. Howdy. My name is Brian. I'm a junior business management major, and I'm going to introduce our team. This is Andres. He's a master's structural engineering major. This is Chinmay and Ryan, who are both sophomore computer science majors. This is Jack, a sophomore mechanical engineering major, and James, a freshman industrial design major. Together, we make Team Bytor. Jack and Ryan, our two co-founders, were sitting in their apartment one day and wondered, what if we were able to communicate with all the technology that we're surrounded by? And with the help of Aggies Inven, we were able to bring this idea into fruition.
Bytor, turn my alarm off.
Alarm off.
What's the temperature outside today?
The temperature right now is 84 degrees.
Hey, Bytor? I need to meet with Jack Castleberry today. Looks like I'm available after 3. What do you got?
You can meet with Jack at 4 p.m. I'll add it to your schedule.
Hey, Bytor. Play the Friends episode, the one with the thumb. Oh, shoot, my fish. Hey, Bytor. Feed my fish for me.
Fish fed.
Hey, Bytor, did I lock the door?
No, would you like me to lock it?
Okay, lock it for me.
Hey, you're my Monday math class, right?
Yeah. Andres, nice to meet you.
You too. Hey, Bytor. Tell me if Andres and I have anything in common.
Both of you were born in Hawaii.
No way. You're from Hawaii too?
Right on, dude.
Nice, nice.
Nice.
Upcoming meeting.
Looks like I have a meeting in 15 minutes. Hey, Bytor, can you set something up for us, like tomorrow? See if we can meet?
Meeting set at 1 p.m.
That works.
That works.
See you then.
That was Bytor. We need a more capable, more connected virtual assistant like Bytor because, after all, we manage tons of personal data and utilize various web services on a plethora of devices. We need a way to efficiently navigate and control our content and connected devices. It is expected that by 2025, there's going to be about 70 billion internet-connected devices. That's going to include fish feeders, cars, even light bulbs. So we really need an assistant that is geared towards the user.
When we came up with the idea for Bytor, we had 5 requirements that it had to meet. It needed to be a networked artificial intelligence system. That means that our Bytor needs to be able to talk to many other Bytors to make your day better. It needed to be an inclusive Internet of Things hub, which means Bytor should be able to connect to almost all devices in your home. It needed to be inexpensive for the consumer as well as the developer. It needed to be secure so it can handle your data safely, and it needed to be more reliable.
So what is Bytor? Bytor is a remodeled virtual assistant. And in more so, Bytor is continuity. Think about the different devices that you have within your home or even just on your person right now. However, there's no way for you to effectively communicate through a centralized hub. And that's what Bytor allows for you to do. With creating a single entity through a personal cloud service, now you can go through one single hub to communicate to all your devices. Think about how this will change the way you do your daily activities or network or even conduct your business.
We came up with 3 concepts for how Bytor would work. The first one was that each device would have its own native program running in it.
Another one was a main cloud server running all the backend functionality, which means there would be a single server that would do all the computing for ByteOr. And the third one that we went with was the fog computing model, which has a single cloud server that is connected to many mini localized cloud servers, which is then connected to your device. This maximizes performance, reliability, and security while minimizing costs.
Okay, so in order to implement a virtual assistant that was more usable for the general consumer, we started by scrapping the basic model that has been used for Siri, Google devices, and everything that we've seen before. They're all based on something called call response. You give it a command, and it provides an action as an output. This model has gotten us so far, but it has inability to perform consistent and persistent actions that are enabled even when you're not actively in use with it. Prevents it from doing a lot of really useful features for you. And so we had to scrap that model and implement it as a miniature operating system with persistent programs running in the background. We also have that running on a fog server, as was mentioned earlier. And it's networked so that my ByteOr can talk to your ByteOr. And so that can do tasks along the lines of how, like, you'll say like my guy will talk to your guy. You can do the same thing to like plan meetings more efficiently. And then we have we're developing it as a modular skill set to where we do the natural language processing, and we actually provide you with the parts of speech and dependency information on what was said, so that you can come up with the most intelligent response as needed.
So we'd like you to meet ByteOr, and there would be some mobile app interfaces on screen.
And ByteOr, your persistent, virtual, and super cool assistant. I am here to serve you and bring smiles to all of the faces.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm doing good. What's your favorite color?
Rainbow, what's your favorite color?
I like brown. What is 1 plus 1?
What color are yours?
Can you open the feeds menu on my TV?
What doors?
It did open it. Alright, can you show me African animals on my TV? One moment, sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. I should have refreshed this. Okay, keep going.
All right, so ByteOr doesn't want to show us any elephants today, but the ways in which you could use ByteOr, there's many ways that you could use them, and so here are a couple things I'll go through. So there's a couple of things you could do just to improve your daily life. So an example of offloading a task to the ByteOr is you could have ByteOr manage your schedule even while you're not on your phone or on your computer or even near any of these devices. It can just manage it for you. Another thing it can do is find common interests with people you run into throughout your day. And then an application for business is that it could manage the schedules and the meeting times for a business by using the sibling ByteOrs to find the best meeting times for each individual. And then another use for it is to centralize the data and devices that you own so that you have one place where you can find everything and control everything. All right, so here's a list of a couple of the devices out there, and it's important to understand that ByteOr is the sum of all of its functions. So Bytor is able to do some functions that other virtual assistants cannot because of the way it was created.
In order for Bytor to have the wide-reaching implementations that we dream of, we needed to offer a freemium model. That means that you can subscribe and use Bytor for free, but there are some features that are restricted to paid premium users. When you download Bytor, you get 1 free month of Bytor Premium. Bytor Premium will cost you $10 a month, and at that cost, we average over 70% of profit margins. Excuse me. Team Bytor has developed a novel AI software that can radically change the way we go about our daily lives. Are you ready to let Bytor connect your world? Thanks and gig 'em.
Go ahead.
So the fog computer, or the fog model?
Yes.
What kind of processing power do you need to push it? It looked like there was a little bit of latency.
So the latencies here today are temporary, and they're actually due to the fact that in order to have the conversation, I'm actually web scraping for some of that, and that's where the majority of my latencies are coming.
Okay. But I guess, but the question remains,
so
what's the processing power that you would need to push?
So there's two options then. Ideally, they could have either essential hubs, kind of like in Amazon Echo, but in our model that is optional, as they could also keep either a program running on a desktop in their home, which could do the same task, or it can operate entirely hubless and go through the cloud, which would operate in the same way as if you took your device outside of your home into a Wi-Fi free zone. It would just have a little bit slower performance.
Is your smartphone robust enough to push it? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
One of your points was that all the existing devices use like a request response now.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe I missed it, but everything you demonstrated was the same request response.
For sure, right? For now, the features that we've implemented within the 48 hours have been asynchronous. But we will, so what we're doing though, is our model in the back end is like a personal cloud server. And so it's running programs, and it can run over your data for like IoT, and it's going to be doing that 24/7. Some of those programs will not be asynchronous. But if you think about what a virtual assistant does, a lot of its tasks are going to be call response. It's just that it has to be able to support certain capabilities which do not fit that model.
To add to that, as an example that was given in the UI as well, it can work to find some low priority calendar events, like let's say a grocery shopping trip or something like that. And if there is something new that comes up, like a meeting or something that conflicts with it, it can just move the trip to some other day without needing your input. It could just tell you that, yeah, I moved it to another day. You can change it back if you want, but it was low risk. And yeah.
Or even with an IoT hub, which brings usually all your feeds together for IoT devices, the main computation with like an Amazon Echo is still going to be done in the cloud. So that's one of the main persistent tasks I see is if we have a persistent OS here, then we can say instead of sending everything to the cloud, use the fog for what it's worth, do all those computations here. Closer, yeah, that increases performance, reliability, and security if you do it correctly. And that could not be done with something like a Siri or an Amazon Echo. And so we take the IoT hub aspect of it and make it much more effective.
Now, having Bytors talking to Bytors, do you end up with significant security issues because they're going to be sharing?
For sure. So what you do, the way you handle that is once you come up with what sort of data you're storing, and we don't have our data model fully figured out yet, but we have some ideas. Now you divide that into realms, where you have this is your high security, this is your most confidential data, this is your least confidential data, and then you encrypt those separately. And so certain tasks, or so certain data, would be not highly encrypted. You would just need maybe their phone number would be enough to get that data. Other things, even if you're using the device, is still going to ask you to authorize certain commands. Like if you have it hooked to your computer and you can make your computer do things like delete files, then it's going to be like on terminal where you run a command and it asks you for sudo access, right?
Sudo, right.
Yeah, so it's going to say like give it a passcode and things like that. So by dividing your data by confidentiality, you should be able to do that securely.
Okay. That's Team Bytor. Let's give it a hand. All right, our next team is Comrade. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Comrade. And Visor Vision, please come on up to the on-deck circle. Y'all can slide this if y'all want to. Not this way, or just leave it over here. Here's your clicker.
All right, howdy.
Howdy.
My name is Jimena Cabrera. I'm an industrial engineering major with a minor in economics.
My name is Venancio Mendez. I'm civil engineering sophomore.
I'm Kiran. I'm majoring in industrial engineering. My name is Gabson and my major is mechanical engineering.
I am Aditya. I am a graduate student in the Department of Electrical Engineering.
I'm Daniel Juarez and I'm majoring in industrial engineering.
And we are
Comrade.
Now let's think for a second. How does it feel whenever your house ran out of power and it's at night? You feel helpless? You feel a little disoriented? You don't know where things are. And the first thing you do is take a flashlight and go back to reality. What if I tell you that there's thousands of people out there that they never find that flashlight? That they live in darkness 24/7 their entire lives. That's why Comrade is here, to give them an innovative idea, unique, and give them that flashlight. We hope you enjoy our introductory video.
Presenting Comrade, the revolutionary solution for visual disabled. Let's understand the problem that visually disabled people face: daily mobility difficulties, feeling unsafe without a caretaker, and lack of discrete devices. Facts: 285 million people have visual disabilities. From all disabilities, 2.3% are visual, and 65% of visually disabled people are age 50 and older. Permanent companions, dependent on canes, expensive eye implants, staying at home are non-effective solutions. That is why Comrade is committed to empower the lives of the visually impaired and leave a huge life-changing impact. Comrade is a user-friendly system that aids visually disabled people live a fulfilling and active life. Benefits: discretion, reliability, and affordability. Functions: Bluetooth app, alarm button, tracking system, and echolocation. Get help in case of any emergency.
So my name is Erin Sill, and I had an uncle died a couple of years ago who was completely blind. He had a contagious disease, so he was too sick to live with us and for us to take care of him. And he was too thin and frail for a guide dog. He always had to have somebody with him to guide him around and take him to do things. He couldn't pick up trash on his own, where if he had the device, he could have walked out onto a street and picked up trash and still would have been safe. So your product would have really helped him live the life that he would have wanted to live. And I think that's amazing.
Comrade, improving visual ability.
So as you can see, that was our need statement. We wanted to create a user-friendly system to provide safety and self-mobility for visually disabled people. Our society doesn't develop actually technology for them. Even if they would take the risk of go out, how would you as a parent feel? You don't know what's happening with them if you're not with them. What if there is an emergency? How would you feel about it?
So just like my mate was talking about, before coming up with the actual design, we gotta face four fundamental problems. We basically consist on lack of safety for visually disabled people. We face with difficulty involving the community, so there is not an existing network to involve the community in order to assist and help these kind of people.
and I'll be talking about our 5 design requirements. So the first thing we thought about was something really simple. It was simplicity. Since we're dealing with blind people, we didn't want to make anything too complicated for them. And the second thing was reliability. We needed a device that the users are going to be able to rely on. They're going to be able to trust it at all times. And the third thing was compatibility. We wanted our device to be compatible with other devices. We're not creating another specific device to make our device work with it. Our device is going to be able to work with previous or existing technologies. And the fourth thing is going to be discretion. Since they're blind people and they're using sticks to walk around with, we're trying to make it discreet. We don't want them to get attention drawn to them every time. And the last thing is that our device is going to be affordable. It's going to be cost efficient, and it's going to fit everybody's budget.
Well, when we started out with the design process, we had two schools of thought. So one is going to be like technologically oriented. It's like using all the advanced technologies that are available. And the second one was involving the community. But the main drawback of using the technologies is we cannot anticipate and foresee what are the problems a visually challenged person is going to face. The technology hasn't matured yet. So we need human beings who can solve novel problems when they exist. So existing devices commonly used as a white stick, so that is not discrete. So people will see that you're blind. So we want to create something that's really discrete, and we have really thought and worked about it.
Yeah, so after a couple hours of struggle, we came out with the final prototype, which basically consists on attaching this device into any kind of shoe. It will work together with echo surrounding, so it'll tell you if you have something in front of you, it means people or obstacles, and it all be integrated with the watch and the phone, which they have 3 important elements, such as Bluetooth Connect, GPS tracker, and alerts.
Yeah, so my fellow comrades explained the design, the need statement, and other requirements that we have. So I'm going to demonstrate our ultrasonic sensor that is going to be embedded in the shoes. This is going to be discrete. For the purpose of demonstration, the output is going to be an audio one, but in the actual prototype, we are planning to implant a vibration sensor on the soles of the shoe so that the disabled people, they'll be able to get a discrete notification if they are going to face an obstacle. So basically, if Ven can help us. Yeah. So when he approaches an obstacle, the volume and the frequency increases. So he knows he has to move away. And we are planning to increase this with multiple sensors with various angles so that complete 360 degree, they have an idea of what happens around them. And another important thing is that we have a wrist device. It has an alarm system which could used to send an when they are in trouble, they could have a system where they could notify the people around them. So that is another part we have. So next you'll explain that.
For third functionality, we have like an alert display, so we'll actually tell your family if you're having trouble to work like this. And he is my lovely family, right? He thinks about me. He needs to know if I'm having trouble. So.
Okay. So I, as a caretaker, I want to feel the comfort and of when you're in trouble or in an emergency or when you deploy an alarm. So just imagine yourself having a loved one with this disability. We understand that your main concern would be their safety. So this is why we're implementing a tracking system. This tracking system works by Bluetooth, and it's worldwide, and it can be used at any time. This is it works worldwide. This is a graph from existing technology, and this is our app, and it's very user friendly.
Okay, now a little bit more on target to our customers. Of course, directly it's going to be the people who are visually handicapped, but as we show in the video, 65% of the people that are visually disabled are 50 and older. So this is going to provide also a good resource for nursing homes. As well, government and nonprofit organizations are trying to get involved with this kind of problems that will help this minority. And you know, people like me or you, family, relatives, community that take care about them. As the cost of production, we got it to $48, and that is just a product. Exactly, that is not a big number for a life-changing product. Even without, and according to our studies, there is people willing to pay for a product even 40% more than this price.
So we have just a prototype model, so we just get spatial information. But in future, we are planning to incorporate orientation. So whenever you face a true north, you're going to get a signal. So that's how it works. And we are trying to get a Bluetooth connectivity with the sensor, so with the sensor, so that it collects information in tandem with the GPS.
Yeah, so we hope that we were able to prove you that this device is actually going to be a life changer. It's going to be the light of these people that needs the opportunity to enjoy, live, and well, just be the same as us. In other words, thank you so much, and
thanks, and
here you go.
So the system is similar to what's now we're putting on cars, I guess. It's now going to be like a running into. I mean, it's basically taking what technology we're talking about with the car, you know, sensors that tell you when you're going to hit something, something's going to hit you, you're getting too close, whatever, something like that. Okay, and still GPS. Okay.
Exactly, and that is our purpose. Our purpose is we want them to feel safe, you know, to be out there. Like she was telling, that is completely touching for me, you know, to have someone that you cannot take care of them all the time, 24/7. People have jobs, people have to go to college. So we're thinking of those little activities too, you know, getting the trash out, and that is going to change their lives if they could do it by themselves.
And our goal is to provide a comprehensive solution, not just the sensors, notifying people, getting the community involved. That is what we are working towards.
Any other question? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next team is Visor Vision. On deck, we need Argos VR right over here. This way? Go ahead. Argos, where you at?
Howdy, I'm Mackenzie,
I'm Tony.
Benjamin.
Ignacio.
And I'm Blake.
and we are the creators of Visor Vision.
I just don't know what to do. Hats, sunglasses, tinted windows, my visor. Nothing's able to block the sun's harmful rays. It's coming in everywhere. I'm being blinded. I really feel like I could hit somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, God. On a serious note, friends, let me tell you, the statistics are in. 9 people a day are killed because of distracted driving. Over 1,000 people are injured. And every single year, 3,000 people are in car accidents because of the sun's harmful rays. But let me tell you, there is a solution. Visor Vision, the product that we are presenting to you right now, is going to help save lives by filling that sweet spot where the sun comes through. It is going to help protect you on the roads. Let me show you. Come here.
But now with Visor Vision, I can easily, one-handedly cover the sun without being distracted while driving, and continue driving. With easy storage, and you can even store your sunglasses. Visor Vision is a wonderful product that will shield the sun and leave you safer while driving. In a car, right? Down the road, the sun's in your eyes, what do? Well, you try sunglasses, you're going to try flipping your visor down, you're going to try flipping it to the side, and you're even going to go sometimes as far as to take your hand off the wheel and try and block the sun. Well, none of this works. You always have, we found that there was a problem with the visor. You never were able to fully cover that sweet spot, as we like to call it, or the corner on the left side of the driver's window. The sun always peeked through no matter what you did. So we created a solution to cover that sweet spot and cover the sun so that you are no longer distracted while driving.
So, before we talk about our product, let's talk about the problems from environment. So, the sun will be our main factor to affect driver when they was driving, and the sunlight will come into the car from different time period. So also in a car, the original device doesn't cover the left side of driver. So those are two problems inspire us, our team, to create this product.
So, our target market. We want to target all car owners and everyone that drives. And also the people that are safety conscious, such as moms, because we could potentially save lives here from any accidents caused by the sun's rays. And we also want to get this product out into retail stores, anything like Walmart, maybe Amazon auto stores such as AutoZone, or maybe even Buc-ee's.
Now let me tell you, friends, there is a uniqueness to this product. Nothing else like it exists on the market, nothing that is able to cover that sweet spot. Also, there is no prior art that is even close to this. And then, of course, this is non-patented, so it's free range.
In our creation process, we created a method of design requirements which is essential for the preservation of the safety of the drivers. So, following that criteria, we came up with various designs to try to meet those requirements. And we used the resources that were offered here. And in addition to that, we created a prototype, tested it, and we wanted to make sure that it was affordable and economical.
So as a part of the design process, we created a list of engineering specifications that our product must meet. First and most importantly, the mounting system must be universal. As an aftermarket product, there are thousands of various types of visors that we must be able to fit. Next, the adjustable position. Every car has a different windshield profile with different sweet spots per se that need to be adjusted for. Next, of course, opacity. 100% of the sun's rays must be blocked. The weight of the device is also critical, as the pivot on most visor hinges are not very strong. Next, you need to have shock and vibration resistance. The automotive environment is very demanding in this field. Next, the design must be aesthetically pleasing for marketing purposes and must be easy and fast to install for any user. We'll go through the design evolution of our process. So our initial plan was to use two flexible rods with grommets similar to how a shower curtain works. But after some further research, we determined this would be, one, not aesthetically pleasing, but two, more importantly, difficult to manufacture on a mass scale. The next step of our design process led to us developing a hinged system. However, we realized that a simple single flap with a hinge would not meet the requirements of every car, which led to our third and final design. So this final design features a friction fit hinge, which allows the flap to adjust to any angle and then hold that angle. But more importantly, a secondary flap which can adjust to any car size. The mounting system is very straightforward. It's simple Velcro, which can be used to adjust both left and right vertically, and can be completely reversed for a passenger side visor or for a European car model with the driver on the right side. The materials for this product include 1/8" hardboard, which was laser cut within the facility, Velcro strap, 1/4" wooden dowel, 3D printed ABS plastic, a small amount of wood glue, and that's about it.
Now, as you can clearly see with this product, it is incredibly versatile. We tested this on many different kinds of cars with large visors, small visors, very small visors, and it worked on all fronts. Whatever your car is, it will work. Strap this on and you're going to be a safer driver. You have to look at this product, friends, and you can see this is going to save lives, and that is why this is so important.
As you can see to our price analysis, everything falls under a $2 limit. And just keep in mind that this is the bulk prices found on the websites. It's not necessarily a manufacturing price. So it's all affordable for the people.
So why our product? Well, it's thin, it's lightweight, It's compact, it's easy storage, it's inexpensive. Compared to other competitors, those are bulky, heavy, they don't cover that sweet spot we were aiming for, and they're more expensive and more complicated to install. But further onto that, our product has a dual degrees of freedom. Not only does it turn out, but it also has an adjustable flap, where other products only have the adjustable flap. So we have the two options there.
So in the future, we may have three main ideas want to create and improve. The first is the automatic light sensing. The second one will be motorized rotation device. And the third one will be LCD liquid crystal display. And I want to talk about the deeper of the third idea. In the future, we may let the visor to be transparent and add the device to connect our smartphone. So in the future, that will display more information on our visor. Also, even it is transparent, and it could have ability to change the color to be black when the sunlight is too strong. And also in our team, we did the simulation. We've seen this EIC as our factory, so we already have the ability and faith to produce 10 products per day to the market. And based on our calculation, we found that we have a net profit about 80% of our product to gain.
And finally, the product could be modified in the future to move away from laser cutting and 3D printing, which are very timely processes, to a plastic injection molding process, which gives you much better price per unit at large volumes.
Thank you all so much for your time. Let it be known, the future is brighter with Visor Vision. Any questions?
What did y'all decide about the mirror access?
So our thought about this, actually, we came up with this later in the day, is that we would have space on the back here to simply install a mirror, which could replace the OEM manufacturer's mirror.
The one other thing that we did kind of come up with is technically you should not be doing your makeup or looking in the mirror while you were driving, because that's also a safety hazard, but we have that option.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Good job. Our next competitors, Argos VR. Go ahead and get set up.
No, we're okay.
Sure. Gutsy decision, y'all are on deck.
Hi, my name's Elise. I'm a senior economics major.
Hi,
I'm Nishank, and I'm a sophomore electrical engineering major.
Howdy, I'm Spencer. I'm a freshman engineering major.
Howdy, I'm Ruben. I'm a sophomore computer engineering major.
Howdy, I'm Ariana. I'm a freshman engineering major.
Howdy, I am Amit. I'm a grad student in computer engineering department, and together we are
Argos.
To make the current VR hardware that the high-end ones, such as Oculus and Vive, more mobile, more versatile.
So when you think of virtual reality, what comes to your mind? Some trackers, a bulky headset. Now think of this. When you don't know anything about VR, it can get really hard to just set up VR or to get started in the VR industry, because you need to buy 2 trackers that will be placed on the ceiling. You need 2 external controllers which may or may not connect to the headset, and then you need to have a costly computer to run the entire setup. With our idea, you will never see the controllers and the tracking system ever again.
What's that?
The door.
Let's try this one.
Often not, it's flying controllers, limited space, a disorienting experience. Not fun. Let's make the experience better.
The problem we're trying to tackle is that current high-end VR systems, they require a external tracking system. So wherever you set up your VR system, that's the only place you can use it. You can't bring it to your friend's house and show how cool your new VR virtual environment is. There's also these controllers that they give you when you buy the set. They're not very user-friendly, and if you're willing to spend a good bit of money, you can get a user-friendly haptic glove, but that's about $1,000 to $2,000.
So therefore, our solution focuses in 2 key areas of the VR experience. First, we want to take the sensors from the ceiling and integrate them into the headset. This would allow you to move around your VR environment and explore more freely as you would in the natural world. Secondly, by putting cameras on the headset that track hand motions, we can remove the need for controllers, and instead we can allow you to just physically grab and place as you see fit to explore your VR environment in a more natural manner.
How we fulfill our 5 requirements is we add hand sensors to the virtual reality headset, therefore making it more portable and user-friendly. We also use hand tracking software, making it more precise and accessible. Because of all these factors combined, we make it more affordable and less expensive for our customers.
We basically had 3 options when we started this. One option was to do a modular, which is basically where you attach different features onto an existing VR. The second was mobile, where you take your smartphone and just put in like a VR case. And the third was a standalone VR that comes pre-built with a screen and everything included. So what we started out doing was we were going to attach sensors to a complete standalone VR, and that's the phone prototype you see there. But we realized this was kind of reinventing the wheel. There were already a lot of great VR systems that you could see video with. The problem was you can't interact with them. There's no sensors unless you do the full setup. So what we ended up on was just selling the modular sensors that you can attach to Oculus VR or HTC Vive.
So this here is our final design. This is a model of an existing VR headset Unfortunately for us, the EIC would not let us glue things to the Vive that they have here. Something about it being $600 and ruining it. Anyway, we demonstrate the ability to easily affix our camera sensors to the existing VR headset. Additionally, here in the center, for scale, we've included the exact same model of camera that we're using for our hand tracking software. And that's to show the viability of such a small camera to perform these results.
In 48 hours, we were able to detect our hands on a Vive, and as my friend Spencer mentioned about the camera that we are using, the camera that we are using is for detecting hand gestures, and if we put these things together, we can really provide a good customer user experience.
Now let's take a look at some of our competitors. Leap Motion is a hand tracking company which was originally intended for laptops and computers, but can also be used for virtual reality. However, we Argos are made for virtual reality. Therefore, while it can track a limited range of motion, we can track a full range of motion. Inven is an eye tracking company that uses eye tracking within the virtual reality headset and also cameras. However, we Argos are more mobile because we use a hand tracking software, and while we do use cameras in the eyes, we are able to be more precise with that. Minos is a glove manufacturing company. While it may have a little bit more precision and more accuracy, we Argos are able to be way less cheaper than Minos combined.
We did some research on how much money it would cost to make the hardware parts of our sensors. That would cost about $90, and we're selling it for $150, so that gives us 60% profit margin.
The reason behind the success of Microsoft and Google is they provide the best customer user experience to their customer. And this is something we are also going to work on. We're going to make our customers so used to our product that it will become quite difficult for them to switch to other products. And the two important things on which we're going to work is, firstly, we're going to develop sensors which is quite easy and compatible with all the VR headsets that are present in the market, so that it will help in many manners. First of all is that we don't need to build it from scratch, and secondly is that we can promote our product with them, and thirdly is that we can develop a large customer base in a quite short span of time. And the other important things that we will develop is that we will develop hand gesture in such a manner so that it becomes quite easy for a customer to use our device. And down the line we see to develop an ecosystem that will really help our customer to develop new things out of this and make our physical reality, our virtual world, close to physical world that we have.
So the reason we thought of going ahead with a modular setup is because we could have easily gone up with a headset setup, also maybe integrating mobile. But in those two spaces, we already have big competitors such as Samsung Gear VR, the HTC Vive, and Oculus. So that's why we thought of going with the modular approach, so that instead of trying to directly compete with these big box players, we would rather help them by offering our sensor services, which they could attach onto their headset and thereby make them portable. So the problem right now in their industry is that in virtual reality, you have to set up your environment, define a square that you will be in, but since our technology is analyzing your environment real time, you can walk around as long as the wire is, which we tend to eliminate in the future too. So in a sense, it gives you full range of motion and an almost untethered access to the virtual world. We are Argus. Come see the future with us. Thank you.
So, I think it was Friday night, you talked about potentially, in addition to catching hand motions, catching knees.
Yeah.
Did y'all try that, and was it feasible?
So we didn't try it yet, but we know that at current pace, where AI is developing so fast and there's computer vision development going on all around the world, if you're able to track our hands, with machine learning and having some algorithms which can learn your motion, which can learn the way you tilt your hands or the way you move, we could easily integrate that into the future. But right now we are just trying to have a prototype where to show something, a proof of concept, and something that could be compatible with the VR headsets that are currently there.
I'm not that technical, so can you explain to me how, if the current VR headsets are used to haptic gloves, and so they're used to the feedback from that to feedback into the VR headset itself and getting that signal, how you're going to be compatible with your sensors.
Oh, so are you asking how would the sensors be compatible with the system,
Right.
like the Vive? Oh, so we thought of two ways of doing it. One would be a wired and one is a wireless. So, but if it was a wired system, then just like our computer Leap Motion, all we would do is have these sensors all around your headset, which would be maybe 2 dual cameras and an infrared sensor, and all of them would be connected by a USB-C cable directly to the computer, just because we are trying to go for the least cost and for the least weight, because we don't want to make an already bulky headset more bulkier. But we can easily also incorporate wireless technology, because even with the HTC Vive right now, there are 2 infrared trackers which are about this size, and you place them on the wall, but they are still connected to your computer wirelessly. So they're already doing it wirelessly, so it shouldn't be too hard to integrate this with other systems, because currently they have a very open system and they're open to other manufacturers adding in new things, because the virtual reality world is all about exploration, all about adding new things, experimenting, and there are engineers adding their own things on a virtual reality headset sometimes. So it's compatible to changes.
So is your product the physical piece, or is it also then a software piece?
I feel that the physical piece would come with the software into it, and we could have maybe online browser. That could be an open source system too, if you want, so that maybe people who experiment with VR can they do their own thing in VR and customize it as much as they want, just to give them more accessibility.
There would be a software component, the hand tracking, that's the software component, but mostly it's hardware that will have that software component.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You'll leave right there. It's fine. Thank you, Argos. Come on up, Gutsy Decision. Y'all can spend a few minutes explaining what that title means. Y'all want this record? Yeah. All yours. So give these guys a few minutes, and I'll signal to you when it's time. Sir? We need to put the record.
Charlie, you gotta find the just click through theirs. Present methods.
So, howdy, my name is Jacob.
I'll let you know. Hold them horses. You're the last team to go. So save all your good stuff for last time. Go.
Okay. Howdy, my name is Jacob, and I am a senior biomedical engineering student.
I'm Meredith. I'm a senior biomedical engineering student.
Howdy, I'm Charlie. I'm also a senior BMen student.
Howdy, I'm Sam. I'm also a senior BMen student.
Hey, I'm Alex. I'm a junior chemical engineering student.
I'm Ashley. I'm a junior BMen student.
And together we are Gutsy Decision, and our device is a model of intestinal structure for bacteria growth. Howdy, we are Gutsy Decision. Every day, billions of people interact with others and the world around them, communicating, collaborating, and thriving in the presence of others. However, this shared space can facilitate the onset of disease, as bacteria and viruses prosper in the environment of the human body. Annually in the United States, bacteria such as E. coli cause more than 2 million people to be hospitalized. As antibiotics become more widely used and misused, drug-resistant superbugs pose a growing threat. The mechanisms of intestinal bacteria growth and drug response have been studied extensively. Unfortunately, research methods thus far have been unable to replicate a human intestine accurately in the lab setting. Thus, new technology is required. This is where we come in. Here at Gutsy Decision, we have fashioned a device to better mimic the environment of the small intestine for bacteria study. Using state-of-the-art equipment, our device contains replaceable polymer tubes and shape memory alloys to produce forces similar to those found in the digestive tract. These components are contained in a housing that also encloses a temperature control unit and interfaces with an inlet pump apparatus. Using precise engineering, we have formed a device that is compatible with current imaging technology and culturing methods. Our product will open a new sector in the medical research market and greatly increase our understanding of bacteria behavior.
So, in hospitals alone, more than 2 million people contract bacterial infections, posing a financial burden of tens of billions of dollars to hospital settings. Current research methods don't adequately represent the intestinal systems and more specifically the structure. And because structure is such an important mechanism for bacterial growth and behavior, research would greatly benefit from a more physiologically true model.
So currently in the lab setting, there are two main methods for growing bacteria. There's liquid culturing, where the bacteria is grown in a nutrient-rich liquid, and there's plating, where the bacteria is grown on a nutrient-rich surface. So both of these methods use simple plastic or glass containers that house the bacteria and their nutrients. And both of these methods provide both qualitative and quantitative information about the bacteria and how they're growing.
While bacteria do exist in suspension and in monolayers in the body, they're more likely to be found in the form of biofilms. Biofilms are areas of bacteria colonization. When enough bacteria adhere to a surface, they begin to lay down a three-dimensional layer of non-living material that protects the bacteria cells from mechanical forces like fluid shear or smooth muscle contractions of the intestines themselves. These layers also protect the bacteria cells from antibiotic drugs. Biofilm formation is heavily structure dependent. So models that only have flat surfaces do not adequately represent their formation.
Alright, so listed here are just some parameters of the duodenum, which is the part that we're trying to replicate. It's the first part of the small intestine, and it comes right after the stomach. The key things to look at are basically just the movement of the food down the small intestine, which is basically through segmentation or peristalsis. And like Sam said, we need something for bacteria to adhere to, and so we also incorporate villi, which are basically like finger-like structures that line the wall of the intestine.
Okay, and so these are our design requirements. So the first one is, in order for bacteria growth to be observed and to actually happen, we need them to adhere to the surface of our device. And then in order to maintain an environment similar to that of the intestine, factors such as pH and temperature need to be incorporated into our device. In the small intestine, forces from smooth muscle contraction and fluid flow greatly impact the bacterial growth. Therefore, we need to also include those in our system. And in order to actually observe the bacteria, it needs to be compatible with existing quantifiable imaging techniques. And then lastly, we wanted our device to be able to use a single-use tubing to prevent contamination, along with a housing device that is easy to maintain and clean.
So once we established our design requirements, we started brainstorming. Our first design involved using a tubing that we would place in an ultrasonic bath. The problem with this is that the ultrasonic bath doesn't really resemble the mechanical aspects of the small intestine. Our next approach was to make a small intestine-like structure but we were going to make it using a cuvette kind of small idea that you would put in a different type of spectroscopy unit. The problem with this is that it uses only one type of imaging technique, and it's a brand new imaging technique that wouldn't be used in a traditional lab setting.
Conceptually speaking, our design consists of a 3D printed part and that is accurately representing the small intestinal piece, including the diameter, length, and also including the villi that was mentioned before. And so we also have a housing unit here that can be used just to contain the intestine, and also can be used to control the temperature to more closely mimic the body temperature conditions. And then we have a shape memory alloy that we want to simulate the motility of the small intestine, which is the small muscle contractions that occur to push food along the small intestine. And the design is also to be compatible with the fluid pumps to control the pH, fluid flow, and other similar parameters. So here we have a visual model of how the prototype is going to be simulating of the small intestine contractions as the food is moving along.
Alright, so our official prototype, yet again, has two components to it. It's this 3D polymer printed design. This is actually NinjaFlex, which is basically the most flexible material they had back there, but ideally we'd like to use PDMS, which is a cheap polymer. It's inert, it's non-toxic, works well with the body, and it's also see-through, so you can see what's going on with the bacteria. Inside the 3D printed structure, there's also the villi that we talked about earlier, so bacteria can adhere to it. The second thing that we have is our housing unit, which is plexiglass. Doesn't necessarily have to be, just something that insulates well and can make sure things don't contaminate everywhere. This is the SMA coil that we talked about that is activated through heat, and so it'll collapse and contract the intestine.
Now, an important part of studying bacteria growth is being able to quantify that growth. One method of imaging that allows you to do so is confocal laser endoscopy. CLE scope is thin, long, and flexible, and can be drawn through our intestinal model. These are often used in conjunction with fluorescent biomarkers. These biomarkers will bind to species of interest, bacteria, other sorts of things, and will fluoresce in the presence of the laser from the CLE. Our design would also allow a segment of the intestinal model to be removed and imaged using a whole method of existing spectroscopy methods.
So there's several practical components to our design that are very useful for implementation in biological research labs, the first of which is to have a disposable tube, because with a cheap polymer like PDMS, it can just be used and tested and then disposed of quickly. And so a great thing about that is that allows the components to continue to be sterile, just using multiple for different tests, because you can get rid of it and not have to worry about cleaning in between all the villi, anything like that. And so with the cheap, this wouldn't be a detriment to the cost to research labs, because you can just produce lots and use lots and it doesn't matter. And so this box doesn't take up a lot of lab space, which is critical in many research labs, and it's just a great unit to contain and integrate with fluid pumps and other items. And it can also be compatible with imaging techniques that are already well distributed throughout many research labs.
And this is a brief summary, again, of our requirements and the technologies we use to complete them.
Okay, looking forward, we would like to have our tubing in the inside to be specific to different types of lumens, such as blood vessels. We'd also like to have multiple tubings in the device at once, so you could run more experiments at once. We also would like to line the inside of the tubing with human cells, because that's what the bacteria is actually adhering to in the intestine, and that would give it a more realistic model. Thank you.
Again, I'm not that technical, so that is when it would actually be used would be, I don't need to see it. That would be sealed on the ends. No.
Well, one end would be interfacing with an inlet pump, which could be pumping a fluid similar to chyme, like you would find in the small intestine. It doesn't have to be necessarily chyme itself. It just has to be effective for the bacteria to receive nutrients and oxygenation and a pH similar to the environment you're trying to simulate. The outlet pump, well, it wouldn't need to be pumped necessarily. But the outlet would allow for fluid collection for analysis of pH and fragmentation and showering of bacteria you could also find from that fluid.
Do you think there's any reason that you couldn't simulate bolus movement with your
That depends on the surface memory alloy wire. I have, I believe, a thick enough gauge and an interface between the wire itself and the intestinal model would be necessary. A track that would allow for a greater surface area for the wire to actually squeeze down on and simulate smooth muscle would most likely be required.
All you got? So we're going to take a few minutes with the judges hidden away from everybody and to tabulate our results. We'll come back in about 5 minutes with the results of the winners. for the Bring Your Own Idea Aggies Event 2017, we're going to start with our third place winner. I remember who the third place winner was, because y'all did such a great job, all of y'all. But for $500 to be spread across the team of Gutsy.
What?
Y'all take care of that whole day up there.
Sorry. My phone. 1, 2, 3. What the heck?
All right, after much deliberation and me saying yes, the next team, second place for $750, is Visor.
All right, I'm about to start crying. Everybody look away.
Hey, good job, man.
It's all her. She's amazing.
Watch out. It's doing your way.
I got it. Okay.
Oh, before you do, are you going to tell everybody that they did a great job and all that before you pass
Oh, no. You drove me crazy all weekend. What are you talking about?
Okay.
All right, listen, everybody, this was a great event. We did this with auxiliary personnel. I normally do not do this, and you can tell that. I'm here as a background person to get your products built, to give you advice, to show you what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right, and to show you how to use things. So Rodney is usually here, and he is a great person at this. It has been he does an absolutely fantastic job. But what I'd like y'all to do is, if y'all want to continue your projects, to come by and see him next week. His office is right next to mine up in the front, and talk to him about if you're interested in joining the entrepreneurship program he has, if you want to continue your project as an Inventeer fellowship, or if you just want to come and hang out in the EIC with us, okay? So we let all Aggies Inven people, no matter if they're in the business school, heaven forbid, liberal arts, things like that. You can still come and get access. Come talk to me, and we'll make sure that you can use the facility as any other student can. So with that, our final first place winner of $1,000 for the team is. No, I changed my mind. No, it's that great app of bread.
Hey, I got that. Nobody else heard you.
Wait, what? Another bread?
Oh. He said it was a very great.
Can I get points for this? Can you scan this check?
Thank you.
Wow. Good. Without expecting
Oh, we're breaking it out?
1, 2, 3.
Bread!
You guys come back later next week and come see Rodney and talk about your. All right, everybody up here, come on up here and let's do a group picture. Everybody participating.
Your baby's moving.
Call people in the back, know how it goes.
It's like 6 in the front.
Oh my God.
Start up.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah,
All my friends are red.
Hey Ben, stick this in your pocket.
How's the back, Aggs? Everybody, we're best friends. We're friends. Hump it, Aggs. Hump it, Aggs. I'm on test. I'm just a section. I'm on the test. Oh, this is calf workout. I'm 6'5".